In this video, I want to show you an alternative method for graphing sinusoidal functions. Again, it's different from the method that we looked at so far. And some people find this method easier for them, so you can choose which method you want to use. For this method, what we're going to do first, we're going to look at the part inside the sine first. So that is pi over 4 x minus pi over 4. We know that normal period of the sine function is from 0 and 2 pi. So we're going to set up a three-way inequality like that. So the inside segment of the function is between 0 and 2 pi. And then solve this inequality simultaneously. We're gonna, since it has 3 parts rather than just 2 parts, we're gonna multiply each part by 4. So we're gonna have 4 times 0, and then we have 4 times pi over 4x minus pi over 4, and then 4 times 2 pi. Okay, so once we multiply, we're going to have 0 here, pi x minus pi when we distribute the 4, and then we're going to have 8 pi on the side. We're going to continue to solve for x. So adding pi to both sides, all 3 sides, we're going to get pi and then pi x and 9 pi. And finally, we need to divide everything by pi in order to solve for x, right? So I'm going to have x is between 1 and 9. So this gives me my period. So the period of my function. Okay. Now, so we could start actually graphing. We know the beginning and the end point of the period for this graph. So it's mostly on the right side, so I'm going to move my y-axis to the left. So I had more room for, do I have 9 here? Barely. Okay, good. Okay, so I have 1 and I have 9. The amplitude, I'm looking at the amplitude, is going to be 3, right? So let's see. I don't have 3, but I have 1.5. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. 3, -3. All right, so I know that the period of this graph, it starts at 1, okay, and it ends with 9. Now remember that we have 5 important points on the entire period. So the point where the period begins, ends, then we have midpoints and quarter points, right? Okay, so I'm going to set up a table where I have my first point is 1, my last point is 9. So what's in the middle? In the middle is going to be 1 plus 9 is 10 divided by 2 is going to be 5. 5 is in the middle. So what's between 1 and 5 in the middle? That's 3. And what's between 5 and 9 is going to be 7. Okay, so these are going to be my quarter points, right? So 1 quarter into the period and 1 quarter and from the other end. Okay, and now I'm gonna use these points to figure out my y values. And so this is gonna be my table. So here I'm gonna see what's happening with our function here, what is done to it. So first we take our x and we multiply it by pi over 4. Then we're gonna subtract pi over 4 from the result. Then we're gonna apply the sine function and then multiply the result by 3. And that will give us our y value. So we're kind of like working from inside out, step by step. So let's do that. The first step is to multiply x by pi over 4. So pi over 4 times x will give us pi over 4, and then 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, 7 pi over 4, and 9 pi over 4. Okay, finished this step. The next step would be to subtract pi over 4. So we have pi over 4x minus pi over 4. And so pi over 4 minus pi over 4 is 0. Pi over 4 minus 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, or just pi over 2. Here we have 5 pi over 4 minus pi over 4 is 4 pi over 4, which is just pi. Here we're going to have 6 pi over 4 or 3 pi over 2. And here 8 pi over 4, which is going to be just 2 pi. So basically, this is what you're going to end up with if you did it right. Once you go through all of these, you're going to get our basic numbers that we're already familiar with: 0, 2 pi, pi, 3 pi over 2, pi over 2. Now we're going to apply sine to those points, to those angles. And again, we already know those values. So sine, imagine there is a line here, sine of pi over 4x minus pi over 4. So what's sine of 0? So I hope you guys all know that it's 0. At pi over 2 is 1, pi is 0, 3 pi over 2 is negative 1, and 2 pi is 0 again. Okay, so those are our sine values. Okay, and then next step is to multiply by 3. So in this line, we're going to have uh, 3 sine pi over 4 x minus pi over 4. So just multiply these values by 3. So we're going to have 0, 3, 0, negative 3, 0. Okay, and so for our function, that is the last step. But if we had a d, let's say, we would have plus 2 here. So that would be our next step. We would write the function plus 2 and then add 2 to each one of these y values. So now what we need to do is to actually, so we have our x and y. And so we're going back to our graph and graph those y values. So we have 1, 0. That's our first pair. Let me grab a different color. 0. And then we have 3, 3. So 2, 3, 3. Then the next one is 5, 0. Oh, let me mark those points. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. So we have 5, 5, 0. And then 7, negative 3. And 9, 0, back to 0. All right, so now I'm ready to draw my wave. And here it is. And again, this is one loop. This is one period, and we can continue in this way. So this is it. This is the alternative way of graphing your modified sine and cosine. Let me know if you have any questions.